Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
57-year-old Stanley Ford was thought of as the neighborhood watchman until some of his neighbors began dying in horrific fires. 2 house fires, intentionally set, that resulted in the deaths of 9 people. Initially, the case focused on the victims and those in their lives, not the man who kept watch over their neighborhood. After all, the first house that burned down had previously been lit on fire as well.
So Macklemore gets mad, goes in the backyard, gets a gas can, pours it on the side of the house and
on his van.
On Lindell's van?
Yeah.
And lights it on fire.
Yeah, he lights it.
And one of the victims in the second house had an abusive ex-husband who had tried to set her on fire.
And you, in fact, learned about what he did to her. Is that true?
Yes.
And what is it that you found out he had done?
Mr. Boggs had previously attempted to set Angela Boggs on fire and had done prison time for that. He was actually incarcerated.
There had even been a confession.
He gets out, he goes over to the desk, and he says to them, Boggs confessed to me, correct?
That's correct.
But according to prosecutors, that was all smoke and mirrors. The real arsonist and killer was Stanley Ford.
What is apparent from listening to the testimony of the neighbors of Stanley Ford in this trial at Fultz and Hillcrest is that they similarly appreciated the fact that they had someone that they felt, at least as he told them, was looking out for them, treated them well. What is also apparent is that those same neighbors did not see the 2 faces of Stanley Ford. The one friendly, nice, concerned neighbor, the one who claimed to be an angel of God sent to watch over the neighborhood, and the second face being the fallen angel who worked in darkness to murder those that he perceived threatened his community.
At trial, the defense told the jury that prosecutors can't prove Stanley Ford set the fires and killed anyone.
Do not rush to conclusions. The same conclusions that the police department rushed to. All right? Judge it carefully, critically. And when you do that, you'll know they have not proven Stanley Ford's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
A jury would have to decide if Stanley Ford, a man who was being charged with 9 murders, was just a man who watched over his neighborhood, or if he was something much more sinister. This is Jillian, and in partnership with Law and Crime, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 181. The neighborhood in Akron, Ohio that Stanley Ford lived in, according to Stanley Ford, was peaceful until renters began to move in on Fultz Street. His home and his mother's were on the street next to it, on Hillcrest Street. Neighbor Tiffany Gary told the jury that Stanley thought of the neighborhood as his.
Did you ever hear him say anything about this being his neighborhood?
That one time when they was arguing and I pulled the car over, yes.
Okay, who was he saying, and by he, who are you referring to?
Mr. Lindell.
And he was saying that to Mr. Lindell?
Yes.
Stanley was saying that?
Stanley was saying it to Lindell, yeah.
This is my neighborhood?
Yes.
Tiffany Gary told the court about an encounter Stanley had with one of the neighbors. a neighbor she said he thought was taking down his neighborhood, a man named Lindell Lewis.
The last time I can truly recall was an argument between Mr. Ford and Mr. Lindell about the traffic that was going over at Lindell's house.
Okay.
And all the beer cans and stuff that just basically ruckus over at Lindell's house.
When was this in relation to the fire, if you know or remember?
This was before the fire. I can't tell you if it was right before the fire. It was just a morning when I was taking my kids home, going to take my kids to school.
You indicated that there was some ruckus at Lindell's house?
Yeah, he had a lot of traffic.
Tell the jury what you mean by that, a lot of traffic and ruckus.
They was always over there drinking.
And who is they?
Grassman, Lindell, and a whole bunch of other people.
Okay. So he had lots of friends over there?
Yes.
You said there were beer cans in the yard?
Yeah, and it was kind of unkept.
You indicated that you observed the defendant having an argument with Lindell about that?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know how it started. I was just driving up the street. I kind of stopped because I seen Mr. Ford in his yard, and Lindell was holding his pants up on the porch, and they was just going back and forth. Basically about the neighborhood.
And what was the defendant saying? What did you hear the defendant saying? If you can remember.
I can't remember.
Okay. When you saw them arguing in the street as you were driving up the street, can you tell the jury what you did?
Yeah, I just kind of stopped the car in between them. I'm like, Lindell, go back in the house. You know, I said, we all grown. Y'all grown. I said, ain't no need for none of this.
Were they both calm? Can you describe their demeanor?
They was arguing, yelling at each other.
So was it fair to say they're both angry?
Yes.
Lindell Lewis lived with his girlfriend, Gloria Hart, at 719 Fultz Street. According to another neighbor, Rebecca Wright, Lindell and Gloria had parties and were loud. Rebecca told the jury that she thought Lindell had brought in former drug users to reform them. Many people went in and out of the home.
He had a lot of people that were brought there, and then they had parties and they drank, and it was wild up there.
So was it fair to say the Reformation didn't go very well?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was still lots of drinking, and were they smoking?
Well, yeah, sure. I would think. I don't know. I never was that close to him. I just.
You just stayed away.
Yes.
So, but you knew this was happening.
Yes. You could hear them in the nighttime. They would turn the radio up real loud.
Lindell's sister, Geraldine, recounted for the court a time when Stanley came to the house and told Lindell he was making too much noise. She didn't know who Stanley was at the time, but he told everyone who didn't live there to go home.
Do you recall an incident where you were there grilling with Lindell?
Oh, yes. My daughter, Jeannie, was there, and we were grilling.
Okay.
And someone across the street told us we need to go home because we're making too much noise. It was only like 3 or 4 of us. I turned around and looked to see who it was.
Okay.
And they were standing on their steps. The house was directly across the street from Lindell.
When the defense cross-examined Geraldine Lewis, they asked her who else lived in her brother's home. She said there were people who lived in the basement.
Let me ask you this question. The people that were in the basement, living in the basement, the 2 gentlemen that lived in the basement, did they ever participate in the cookouts with you?
No.
Okay. Were you aware of any drug or alcohol issues for anyone who was living in that house with your brother?
No.
Okay. Were you aware of your brother's alcohol issue?
I have never seen my brother drink, so
okay.
I didn't know of anything about no alcohol.
He never drank in front of you?
He's never.
Okay.
We could be around. We'd have Christmas parties, wherever we would have. Lindell never drank.
Okay.
Thomas Hughley, who lived at Lindell's in the basement apartment, had issues with Stanley Ford. Thomas had passed away prior to trial, but his prior testimony from a pretrial hearing was read aloud in court. It included how he reported Stanley to the police for harassment.
You went down there to make a complaint against Mr. Ford.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hughley, if I suggested to you that this said September 16th, 2015, would that?
That sound about right.
Okay. You would have no reason to disagree with that?
No.
All right. Well, your complaint at that time was that Mr. Ford was harassing you.
Yes, sir.
And did you indicate to them when this harassment was taking place?
It was going on. That's why I went down there. I mean, we done paid him for the window. The window thing was earlier. Now he comes over talking about somebody scratching his wife's car. So, yeah, I went down there and filed on him.
All right. And did you tell them about the assault?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I might have did.
The timeline and details of these confrontations is unclear. What is clear is that on April 18th, 2016, someone set Lindell Lewis's home on fire. The 911 call came in at 3:39 a.m. from Betty Williams. Neighbor Tiffany Gary told the jury what she saw during the fire.
I seen him come out the basement, and as soon as he came out the basement, it was just like a beam fell on it with hot shingles coming down. All you just seen was fire falling from the sky. And he stopped. And when he stopped and looked up at the rear point of the house, Lindell was hanging out the window, just the top portion of his chest.
He's hanging out of the window at this house?
At 719 Fools.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm screaming, somebody find a ladder, find something. So the guy, called him Grassman, he said, Lindell, jump out the window. He said, man, I can't get myself up. And I'm like,
who said that?
Grassman said that to Lindell. Why
just let me slow down. Mm-hmm. Grassman said what to Lindell?
He said, jump out the window.
And what did Lindell say back?
He said, I can't get out the window.
And was he, when he was saying this, was he calm? What was his demeanor, Lindell's?
Well, it was smoke pouring out from all the way around the top of his head. So he was, can I show you?
Yeah, show us.
So this is the window. And he was kind of trying to stay down because the smoke was pouring around him. And then I screamed one more time. I said, do anybody have a ladder? I said, I'll go up there and help him get out myself. Basically, after that, all you seen was like, it looked like almost like a landslide. The shingles just started falling. So Grassman ran to the back of the yard. I looked back up.
In this area?
Right there where that green patch is, with grass. Okay. He ran to the back of the yard. I ran down the street. I was filming the whole time.
With what?
My phone.
Okay.
And I gave it to the fire department. This whole time, so when I looked back up, Lindell was in the window. He was nowhere to be found. And I said, oh my God.
Akron police were called to the scene to investigate the fire and the deaths of 65-year-old Lindell Lewis and 66-year-old Gloria Hart. The lead detective was Tanisha Stewart. She told the court about her investigation. She looked for witnesses as well as security camera footage. She also wanted to talk to the other people who lived at 719 Fultz. Stanley Ford's defense attorney asked her about those people, Ronald Garrett and Thomas Hughley. Hughley was able to escape the fire. Ronald Garrett wasn't at the home at the time of the fire.
4 people lived in that house in April of 2016. Is that fair?
3 people lived, 1 visited frequently.
Okay, and she had her own bedroom, correct?
She had her own bedroom when she came.
Right,
yes.
and that would be Gloria Hart.
Yes.
Okay, and obviously Lindell Lewis, because he was the owner of the house.
Yes.
Okay, and you learned that Thomas Hughley, correct?
Yes, and Ronald Garrett.
And Ronald Garrett?
Yes.
Okay. Also lived in that house, correct?
In the basement.
Okay. We had heard testimony from Thomas Hughley in this case that Ronald Garrett was actually at 719 Fultz in the evening hours prior to the fire, but had left. Were you aware of that?
I knew that he was there the day before, whether it was afternoon or evening, I don't know.
Okay.
But he was there the day before and left to family and friends' house. He didn't spend the night.
She said she put out a be on the lookout, or BOLO, for Ronald Garrett.
And that was because you wanted to speak to him about his whereabouts during the fire, correct?
Yes.
And you considered him, at least initially, a suspect, fair?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You track him down or put out tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what a be on the lookout for is, or a BOLO they call it, right?
A BOLO is when we send out word through patrol, sometimes media, to, we're looking for a person or a vehicle or something. So to be on the lookout.
Okay. You are able to get in touch with Ronald Garrett on April 22nd. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you conduct an interview of him on April 22nd, correct?
Yes.
You're unable to locate him April 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. Fair enough?
Right.
Once she was able to track down Garrett, she didn't believe he was being truthful. But the interview brought up another possible name, Jonald McLemore, a man who Lindell allegedly held money for.
You interviewed Jonald McLemore on April 27th of 2016. Is that right?
Yes.
Jonald McLemore was of specific interest at first. He had lived at another one of Lindell's homes before and set a previous fire.
So he lived at an address owned in the past by Lindell Lewis on South Street, correct? South.
Yes.
All right. And you learned that house burned up too, correct?
Yes.
All right. We heard from Thomas Hughley in this case. He testified in this case previously, and he said McLemore admitted that he not only burned Lindell Lewis's van at 719 Fultz, but he also tried to start the house on fire about a year or two prior to this fire. You knew that too, right?
No, I don't recall him burning the house, but yes, the car. Okay. It was alleged that he burned the van.
All right. Well, Hughley told us and told the jury, most importantly, that the aluminum siding placed on that house was placed on that house after McLemore not only lit the van on fire, but tried to set the house on fire.
The house is news.
Yeah. Pardon?
The house is news to me.
News to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. But you knew McLemore had committed an arson over that money in his dispute with Lindell Lewis a year or two prior to this fire, correct?
The van, yes.
Okay. All right. You're not disputing that he tried to set the house on fire. You just didn't know about that. Is that fair?
That is absolute news to me, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
During the trial, this fire Jonald McLemore had allegedly set was discussed at another point, as Stanley's defense attorney pointed out, during the reading of Thomas Hughley's testimony. Hughley's testimony provided context to Lindell holding money for McLemore.
At some point in time, did they have a falling out?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, Lindell normally would hold money from McLemore. Whenever McLemore needs the money, he will come over to Lindell's house and come borrow it. Lindell told him, "You get what you get and don't come back." But he ended up coming back 10, 11, 12 at night, whenever he got ready. So...
Well, let me ask. When you say Lindell was holding money for
McLemore.
Whose money was it?
It was McLemore's money.
So why was Lindell holding it?
McLemore couldn't hold it himself, I guess.
Because he'd spend it?
Yeah.
What was he spending it on?
I don't know. Various drugs.
All right.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Yeah.
Hughley also discussed the previous fire in detail. According to him, McLemore had set fire to Lindell's van and house.
What was the fire of?
In the backyard, he got the gas can, threw it on the van, and threw it on the house. Well, when I got up, the fire was already out. I didn't know nothing about the fire. He said, I already put the fire out by now.
So Macklemore gets mad, goes in the backyard, gets a gas can, pours it on the side of the house and
on his van.
On Lindell's van?
Yeah.
And lights it on fire.
Yeah, he lights it.
And what? But it goes out?
No, it burned up the van.
Burned the van?
And the house, and the side of the house. He put that vinyl stuff on it. That's new stuff. Yeah.
Do you remember when that happened?
2 or 3 years ago, I guess. It could be longer than that.
The defense attorney asked Detective Stewart about these men's alibis. She admitted to not confirming the alibis herself. There was also no note in her report if any other officer confirmed them. But these men weren't the only people in Lindell Lewis's life that garnered attention from law enforcement. Before Lindell Lewis was with Gloria Hart, he was married to another woman. Lindell's first wife was Francine Lewis.
Would you agree with me that in your report of investigation, you listed her as suspect number 2?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
You learned during the course of your investigation that Francine had an insurance policy still in effect on Lindell Lewis, correct?
Correct.
You actually secured that insurance policy, correct?
Yes.
And then you also secured other insurance policies that Lindell Lewis had himself that he had taken out, correct?
Yeah, one comes to mind.
Okay. You learned during the course of the investigation that Lindell Lewis did not know about the insurance policy that Francine Lewis still had on him, correct?
What I can say is his brother did not know if he knew. He didn't tell him about that.
Well, you looked at other of Lindell Lewis's insurance policies that he had taken out, and he had indicated on those policies that he was unaware of any other insurance policies, correct?
Yes.
So that's why I say that, correct?
Amen.
That was interesting to you, correct?
It was.
Because we have an ex-wife with an insurance policy on the ex-husband, and he don't know about it, right?
Right.
That is what first intrigued you to Francine Lewis, correct?
I wouldn't say first, but that was one of the things.
Okay. You learned during the course of your investigation that Francine Lewis and Gloria Hart pretty much hated each other, did you not?
It was reported that Gloria didn't care for Francine. And I wouldn't say hate, strong word. But they had some discord.
Okay. That was intriguing to you as well, correct?
That's the ex-wife, so that wasn't so alarming.
Well, it was alarming enough to make her suspect number 2 in your report of investigation, was it not?
Not about their relationship.
No?
No.
Okay, what made her suspect number 2 in your report of investigation?
To me, she had an insurance policy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. The combination of those things, you put those things in your report, correct?
I did report them, but one was more, could have been potential motive. So, of course, I had to investigate her.
The defense team also wanted to talk about Francine's current boyfriend, William Pryor. Detective Stewart was asked if William looked like the person seen on one of the surveillance videos from the night of the fire. Someone was seen entering one of Stanley Ford's homes on Hillcrest through a side door. Prosecutors say this is Stanley after setting the fire. But his defense attorney asked Detective Stewart to read from her investigative report.
Want me to read the whole paragraph?
Sure.
However, I learned that Williams's age, physical build, complexion, and facial hair was consistent with that of the suspect seen in the surveillance video and almost identical to prime suspect Stanley Ford.
Yes. So you made those conclusions in your report of investigation, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
As for this person of interest's alibi, she said he told her he was at home.
Does that appear anywhere in your report of investigation?
That may not be written explicitly in here.
Did you do anything then to verify that they were in fact at home, if in fact they told you that?
Outside of the cell phone records, I could not verify that.
The defense attorney bickered back and forth with Detective Stewart about things she did or did not include in her report, including when she eliminated Francine Lewis and William Pryor as suspects. On redirect, the prosecutor asked her what they considered to be the most important question about these additional suspects.
Any of these suspects, during the course of your investigation, did you ever learn that they had access to 1374 Hillcrest?
None of them did.
Did you ever learn during the course of your investigation that they had access to the alarm codes at 1374 Hillcrest?
They did not.
What about access to 1370 Hillcrest?
No.
Despite many leads, the case eventually stalled. Then, a vehicle was set on fire in the neighborhood in January of 2017. Naija Sams, who also lived on Fulton Street, found her car ablaze 9 months after Lindell Lewis's house had been set on fire. This time, no one was injured. But 5 months later, tragedy struck Fulton Street again. On May 15, 2017, the house at 693 Fultz was set ablaze. Inside was a young family. 38-year-old Angela Boggs lived with her boyfriend, 35-year-old Dennis Huggins. 5 of their children were in the home. Jared Boggs, 14. Deja Huggins, 6. Kyle Huggins, 5. Olivia Huggins, 3. And Cameron Huggins, 16 months. There were no survivors this time. Unlike with Lindell Lewis's house fire, there was an immediate person of interest this time. Angela Boggs, the mother, had been in a previous violent relationship, and the violence in that relationship was of particular interest. Angela's ex-husband, Patrick, had been arrested for beating her, pouring gasoline on her, and trying to set her on fire. He had been sent to prison for 12 years. He was released not long before the fire. Akron detective Troy Looney said he had a lot of suspicions about him.
As an investigator or a human, when you found out that the victim of this fire was the victim of her ex-husband attempting to or threatening to set her on fire on a prior occasion, what was your reaction?
We need to look into that immediately.
All right. And how would you describe the likelihood in your mind that he was going to be the guy that did it?
Yes.
Overall, you answer.
It raised our suspicions very, very highly.
All right. I mean, how often does that happen in your investigation where you have such background?
It just depends on the case details and case facts. Every case is actually different, so no two are alike. There may be similarities or comparisons, but that stood out, obviously, for obvious reasons with the incident that occurred.
Not only that, but while investigating the house fire, Detective Looney received a call from the jail. Patrick Boggs' prior cellmate, a man with the last name Selby, claimed to have had an interesting conversation with him.
He gets out, he goes over to the desk, and he says to them, Boggs confessed to me, correct?
That's correct.
And the deputy notes in her report, she says, I saw them outside of their cells earlier in the day, throughout the day, and she didn't know what they were saying, but she saw them conversing. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So he says, Selby tells the deputy Boggs confesses to the murder of the family in Akron, right?
That's fair.
And he says that a barbecue grill was on the porch and makes further comments of Boggs saying he threw hot coals in a bag that helped start or ignite the fire. Fair?
That's fair.
That's what Selby says Boggs says. right?
That's fair, yes.
Okay. She notes in her report, as Selby's telling her this, that he appears a little shaken, correct?
Correct.
So Selby's displaying some nervousness, or he's shaken up, correct?
Correct.
And he says one of those kids was his, meaning one of those kids was actually Boggs's child that died in the fire, correct?
Correct.
And he comments, how could someone do that, right?
That's correct.
According to the defense, part of the reason Patrick Boggs would want to hurt Angela was due to her taste in men.
He then indicates that Boggs is angry over the fact that Angela Boggs is now living with a black man, correct?
That's correct.
You also knew, as you interviewed Patrick Boggs, that there was a racial component to what happened in 2001, fair?
Yes.
He believed she was cheating on him with a black man, correct?
Correct.
That piqued your interest in this case, too, because of who Angela Boggs was now dating, fair?
That's correct.
Obviously, we know now Mr. Huggins is a black man, fair?
That's correct.
So when we talk about things, even though they're not legal elements, we talk about motives, correct?
Correct.
That was something that also piqued your interest, fair enough?
Fair enough.
The defense attorney asked what Patrick Boggs had told Detective Looney about his whereabouts during the time of the fire. Detective Looney said that Patrick claimed to not know where Angela lived, that he had never been to her neighborhood. But one of his children told the police the opposite. She said her dad had brought her over to the house in the weeks prior. Ultimately, Detective Looney didn't find the alleged confession credible, despite some questionable lies in his interview. Patrick Boggs was brought into the courtroom without the jury present. Judge Christine Croce asked him if he wanted to testify.
And at this time, do you choose to testify?
I choose plead the fifth, and did not testify at all.
So you're choosing to invoke your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you were called to testify, any questions you would be asked, you would invoke the Fifth Amendment, is that correct?
Yes.
And you would choose not to answer any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the jury wouldn't hear from Patrick Boggs. They would only hear why investigators had suspected him in the first place. You heard Detective Stewart say she had cleared her suspect list in the fire investigation of Lindell Lewis's home. And now Detective Looney said the same about his investigation into the fire down the street at the Boggs-Huggins house. So with investigators having cleared their suspect lists, what made them focus on the neighborhood watchman, Stanley Ford? And although they were convinced they had the right man, would the jury agree? At trial, which started in August 2021, prosecutors told the jury that they would prove that Stanley Ford was responsible for all three fires: the fire at Lindell Lewis's home, the vehicle fire, and the fire at the Boggs-Huggins home. Investigators really focused their attention on Stanley once they came across surveillance footage. Brad Burkhart is an analyst for the State Fire Marshal's Office and also the prosecution's star witness. He told the jury that there was surveillance footage from August 18, 2016 that was recovered. At 3:15 a.m., it showed a man walking across the street and throwing fluid at Lindell's home at 719 Fulton Street. The man then ran back across the street. He did this 3 times. On the 3rd time, the house ignited. The man's face wasn't visible. He was wearing pants and a hooded jacket, with the hood up. Surveillance footage also showed a man entering Stanley's home at 1370 Hillcrest before 911 was called. In that footage, the exterior of the home is lit up, meaning the fire down the street was underway. Burkhart also testified about security alarm records from another home that Stanley owned about a block away, at 1374 Hillcrest Street. Stanley reportedly used that house for storage while living with his 2 daughters at 1370 Hillcrest. The alarm at the 1374 address was disarmed at about 3 a.m. and was turned back on at about 6 a.m. Burkhart also examined surveillance footage from the area from May 2017, when the fire at the Boggs Huggins home occurred. At 2:27 a.m., the security alarm at Stanley's home at 1374 Hillcrest is again disarmed. At 2:38 a.m., a man can be seen on surveillance footage walking up Fultz Street, the next street over. 2 minutes later, the man can be seen running back down the street, and 2 minutes after that, the door to 1374 Hillcrest opens. A minute later, 2 911 calls are attempted from Angela Boggs' phone. Less than 10 minutes later, fire trucks arrive. Stanley Ford chose not to testify, but the jury was able to hear some statements from him during the testimony of Detective Troy Looney. When Detective Looney first spoke with Stanley after the May 2017 fire, Stanley said he was asleep when the first fire was set in 2016. When he looked out, he said he saw flames. Stanley did admit that he had left the house at some point that night. He couldn't say what time it was, though, but he knew it wasn't at the time of the fire. Detective Looney asked him if he had any items that could be used to start a fire. He admitted to having things like gas and propane for his grill, but still maintained he didn't do it. The crime lab did get a hit of gasoline on Stanley's shoes, and the video of the man running into his side door had to be him, according to Stanley himself, although he said the only time he left that night was to get a television set from his other house. As for the May 2017 fire, Stanley said he doesn't play with fire, and also said he never had any disagreements with the people who lived in the home, even saying he didn't know them. At one point in the interview, Stanley said what he thought should happen to the person who set the fire at Angela Boggs' house.
And whoever did it, they need to be punished. Okay, but what's happened to them? I don't know. I don't know what kind of laws there should be applied to that. I don't know the law. I got you. But I didn't do it. Okay. So if you're looking at me like I didn't do it. I'm not going to confess to them that because I didn't do it.
He said they need to be punished. He doesn't know what laws should be applied, but he knows he didn't do it, and he isn't going to confess to something he didn't do. Investigators believed they had enough to charge Stanley with both fires, as well as the deaths of Lindell Lewis, Gloria Hart, and the Boggs Huggins family, especially because they claimed he had motive in both cases. They said he had made various statements to police about Lindell and the occupants of the house that they believed were incriminating.
Let's examine those statements. First, you heard from Ellis Cole, the fire investigator from the Akron Fire Department. He told you that the defendant told him that Lindell Lewis was a vicious guy, that he had buddies sitting on his front porch drinking alcohol, that Lindell had prostitutes working out of his house. Next, we're going to hear the statement, and you'll have this audio in evidence, that he gives to Detective Stewart at his side door with Sergeant Litke there. If you remember, they point out when they're talking to him, "Hey, Stanley, we're talking to everybody like this. There's no reason for you to be this nervous." First thing he says is, "I was actually kind of like I was working out and I was kind of sleeping when the fire starts." Next, you'll see and you'll hear, you have to listen to it hard. "We had the window open because it was nice weather. I don't want you guys interrogating me like I did it. Them guys are bothersome to everybody. Tommy tried to break into my mom's house," which we also heard from Mr. Hughley. "They drink a lot, smoke a lot of weed. They are on crack. This guy with the bald head over there, I asked him to let me out, to take my daughters to school. He told me he said you was harassing them." That he was harassing the bald guy. If we saw the photographs from Lindell Lewis laying on the bathroom floor, he's the bald guy, ladies and gentlemen. Next, he tells them guys, they try to get me to come engage with them. This is in the telephone interview that you'll have in evidence. Them guys was nasty. They had prostitutes in and out all night. They was dealing in homosexuality. Those people were just some bad people. I don't do nothing to them people. Them people was just mean. When they moved up here, Tanisha, they stole everything that wasn't bolted down. They stole everything from people, everything. One of them guys wanted to see how long my penis was. Finally, he says, we ain't never experienced this up in this neighborhood because it's a bunch of older people. And you got an old lady retired. You know, my mom was one of them. You know what I mean?
As for the Boggs-Huggins house, Stanley claimed they were bad kids. He even said they'd tried to poison his dog.
I thought those kids, referring to the ones at 693 Fultz, were bad. Shit. Like what? Like what, Stanley? Well, shit, like kicking vehicles, rear view mirrors, busting them out, and stuff like that.
During closing arguments, prosecutor Joe D'Angelo called Stanley Ford a fallen angel. He was supposed to protect the neighborhood, but at some point, his protection became more than a watchful eye.
The key question in this case is whether you believe beyond a reasonable doubt that this man, Stanley Ford, is the individual in those videos starting those fires at 719 Fultz and 693 Fultz and that car fire at 723 Fultz.
He went on to say that it's possible that someone else set the fires, but it wasn't reasonable. And after the Boggs-Huggins fire, when Stanley claimed the boys who lived at the house were trouble, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place.
Is it possible that an unknown killer or killers decided to kill Lindell Lewis and Gloria Hart along with the Boggs and Huggins family on the same street months apart? Sure. Is it possible that the unknown killer or killers both decided to use arson as their means of committing the crimes? Wow, what a coincidence. But certainly, I would acknowledge that it's possible. Is it possible that those same killer or killers decided to start the fires in the same manner and on the same front porch locations in both homes? Wow. Is it possible that after those fires were started with accelerants, that the killer or killers all decided to run behind 1370 and 1374 Hillcrest, as you have heard, are the homes of this defendant?
Defense attorney Joe Gorman again laid out their laundry list of suspects. He told the jury he couldn't tell them who set the fires, but other people could have certainly done it.
Our job is to be analytical. Our job is to take this as an academic exercise and to hold the state of Ohio to its burden of proof. To its burden of proof. And to do that, you have to look at the entire investigation. And I warned you, I said it's uncomfortable, but to look at the entire investigation, you have to be critical of it. You have to be critical of what the police did or did not do in this case. They've identified some suspects. They never followed up with them. We're going to talk about that. It's not because I don't like the police. It's because they didn't do their job here.
He told the jury that there was a mysterious vehicle seen in the neighborhood, one that a neighbor reported, and also that Stanley had called the police about. This was 1 month prior to the Boggs-Huggins fire.
And we have no idea, as we sit here, 9 people dead. We have no idea who the owner of that car is. That's outrageous. You want to talk about suspect? You want to talk about reasonable doubt?
He pointed out that the state had no forensic evidence.
There is no fingerprint evidence that links Stanley Ford to any of these crimes. Not at either house, not on the gas cap on the January of 2017 case, shock fire. There is no DNA evidence that links Stanley Ford to any of these matters. There's no eyewitness identification that links Stanley to any of these matters. And outside of, and we're going to talk about these shoes over here, Outside of those shoes, there is no forensic evidence that links Stanley Ford to any of these fires. And those shoes don't directly link him either.
He concluded that what happened was horrific and someone should be punished, but he didn't think the evidence pointed to his client. On October 1st, 2021, the Ohio jury returned with their verdict. Stanley Ford was found guilty of 26 of the 29 charges. 22 of those were aggravated murder and also aggravated arson. He was found not guilty of prohibitions against companion animals and not guilty of the vehicle fire in January of 2017. On October 26, 2021, a now 62-year-old Stanley Ford was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case. Join our conversation on Instagram at CourtJunkie, tweet me at CourtJunkiePod, or send me an email at podcast@CourtJunkie.com. Today's episode was researched and written by Polly Katowski with Law and Crime. You can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Polly Katowski. If you'd like to hear these episodes without the ads and hear additional Court Junkie bonus episodes, check out my Patreon options at CourtJunkie.com/support. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/CourtJunkie. I have one more episode to be released this year, and then I'm taking a short holiday break. So I'll be releasing next week's episode, and then after that, the next episode will be released on January 10th. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.